and how. We're at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We'll give it just a couple minutes. We see a couple people still coming in, so in about 2-3 minutes, we'll start off with the webinar. All right, we'll start the webinar in 1 minute, a 1-minute warning for those. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining the webinar on migration from web forms to .NET Core, why, when, and how. The sponsoring organization today is Compunel Digital, and through this webinar will be about 45 to 50 minutes long. Some general housekeeping: we are going to take all questions at the end, but that should not discourage you to not ask questions throughout the presentation. If you have questions on any slide, please ask them using the GoToWebinar feature. We are going to catalog those and answer the ones. If we have time, we'll try to answer them all. If we don't have time, we'll answer the top rated ones, and then we will follow up over email afterwards. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Michelle, can we advance to the next slide? I'm Nolan Hout. I'm Vice President of Marketing with Compunel Digital. And joining me on the call today, we have Vishal Rasagi, our Vice President of Digital Engineering at Compunel Digital. Vishal is an expert in all things digital engineering and digital transformation. He is the person who has put together the presentation today on migrating from web forms. And this is something near and dear to Vishal's heart. Vishal spends most of his time working with organizations on how to modernize their legacy applications. And that is why he chose this topic today. He found a lot of customers were in this space of using web forms from a bit of a time ago, and how are they going to go through the migration, because you're only getting more and more behind as the years go on. In the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about our table of contents. So on the left is the agenda for today. I won't touch on that too much. You can read that for yourself. Really, what I want you to focus on is the takeaways for this webinar. We really want to show you the new architecture for .NET Core, some of the benefits that you have of migrating to this platform, because, and really the third part is probably one of the bigger ones, how to make that a smooth transition. Modernizing is never smooth. We try to make it smoother. And the fourth one, what are the challenges that you might have in doing this migration, some of the ones that our customers have faced, some of the ones that we've faced, and some potential solutions for overcoming those challenges. A little bit about Compunel Digital. This will be one of the only slides that you'll hear about us. So we are a full-service digital transformation organization. You can see there we have a full suite of components ranging from digital strategy, and simply put, what do we need to transform? Digital engineering, what are we going to do for this transformation? Digital infrastructure, okay, where is this whole thing going to land up? And on the last, digital change, which is a core component, right? Once we do all of this, how can we make sure it sticks, whether that's internally or with our customers? So when you look at application modernization, there's so many different ways that you can go about modernizing, and there's so many different paths you can take. You have your lift and shift, which is pretty, simple for the most part, minimal code changes, minimal work. And then you have a little bit further, on the green path here, you can see keeping the existing code and migrating to the latest technology, which is the application migrated. And then the last is architecture to the cloud, which includes a complete refactor and rewrite. Today, what we'll really be talking about is this blue stream here, application migrated, where it's a little bit, we like to say it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. I know that's a tough thing to say in the digital transformation space because there's always a trade-off. This allows you to definitely modernize, but while also retaining and reusing a lot of the work that you've already done. Instead of a complete, transformation of having to throw everything out and start from anew. And that's why we feel this migration webinar is so important for organizations, because we realize you do have so much invested already in your platforms. You're not ready to necessarily throw that all out. And with that, what I want to do is pass the presentation over to my colleague, Vishal Rastogi. He'll be taking you through the rest of the presentation, starting with our slide on Microsoft's own evolution journey over the past 16 years.
Okay. Thank you, Nolan. Hello to everyone. This is Vishal Rastogi. So I'm just talking about, if you see on this slide, we're talking about the complete Microsoft journey. So it's basically complete Microsoft era, starting from Visual Basic to .NET Core 3.0. One of the questions which most of the organizations or most of the people have in mind, that why .NET Core 3.0 or why .NET Core came in picture. So understand that how the Microsoft journey is going on with all these new technologies coming in the market like React, Node, and everything. Microsoft is losing a lot of market share from there because their Windows application is becoming less nowadays. Plus, Windows mobiles are not doing that great. The only platform which is working fine for Microsoft is the Microsoft ASP.NET, and that platform even has to compete with a lot of latest technologies like Node.js, Java, Ruby, and of course, and these all technologies are open source and they have got a huge developer base, because of which Microsoft has got something called .NET Core, which is basically an open source cross-platform, easy to implement, and a very reliable and kind of a code which has been written. So it's anything which you build on .NET Core has got a lot of reliability. Plus, it has been got a inbuilt support of a lot of infrastructure. Plus, there is a long list of supportability in terms of Azure and the cloud. So what is the modern architecture supporting .NET Core? So Microsoft has changed a lot of things in their overall architecture itself. Talking about, so if on the left-hand side you will see a lot of some of the core things which Microsoft was trying to achieve, like performance, cross platforms, which the framework which they can run on Windows, Linux, Mac OS. The deployment process has to be faster, so that there has to be some inbuilt features which they really needed, and a dependency injection which has to be the part of all their internal frameworks. So what Microsoft has done, they have got a modern architecture. So understand that this on the right side of yours, this box talks about different frameworks. So talking about .NET Framework, UWP, .NET Xamarin, and then below that there is something called .NET Standard Library. Now, what .NET Standard Library provides you, it provides you the kind of, it provides you all the libraries which can be used across these platforms. When I say across these platforms, there's a way you can develop the components, we can be reused in all these platforms. A lot of the features can be shared, a lot of the coding guidelines can be shared. If you know C#, you can actually do the coding all of these frameworks. Whole webinar is more on Python or any other language, which is already the part of .NET Core. It has also got a support from, like, you don't have to relearn the languages like Swift or Android or a Java kind of a language, because you have Xamarin kind of a thing. So you can develop application in Xamarin which can be deployed in different platforms. So that's something which .NET Core 3.0 provide. And if you see something called integration with SingleR, which is basically a communication framework which Microsoft provides, and that is getting more and more stronger with this. Is migration a goal for you? Web forms taken to .NET Core. Talking about so for example, your application is 10 years old application, and there's no reasonable chance it could be rewritten in less than a half of the time. Of course, no company can stop evolving its business for 5 years while it is being rewritten. Starting to build a new version in parallel with maintaining the old one, it will be going to be too expensive for an organization. Of course, it needs a lot of your time and a lot of your money to develop such kind of a thing. So what is the basic criteria companies are looking towards nowadays? That is there a way we can reuse whatever the investment we have done earlier, and whatever we have done earlier, how can it can be migrated into a new platform so that we can reuse the new platform, so that we can use the new platform features and the power which we have got, plus how we can reuse or we can utilize whatever the investment which we have done earlier. So talking about ASP.NET Web Forms migration, from here we talk about what traditional web forms application was. Well, Microsoft has got, when they initially launched their whole framework, which was in 2001, they started with a concept called web forms. The web forms was one of the first rapid application development framework which Microsoft launched, and it can be typed in both the languages, C# and VB.NET. It has got a lot of good features at that time when it was launched, like event-driven programming. You can actually put a code, you can put up controls on the forms, and you can actually click on the form, any of the controls, and you can start writing the events and the code around it. It has got a lot of server controls. It's like a drag and drop kind of a thing, and you can manage their events. It has got a intuitive interface, rich user interface. It uses a page controller pattern, tightly integrated components. It has got a code behind files. I'm sure the people who are listening this, they can easily remember that there was a concept called front end, and then you have got something called back end, which was a code behind files. Common pain areas, as people started using web forms, there was a lot of pains came through that, because it was first of the launch of Microsoft, and Microsoft was actually make this framework based on the concept of that there has to be a separation between an HTML and UI page. While that was being done, but there were a lot of other things came in. So they have got some, because they were doing a page controller pattern, which was basically bringing a page load event, which was actually been a heavy load. Every time your page gets loaded, it actually calls a page load event. Stateless nature was there, lack of MVC pattern, because there was nothing called a model view controller pattern there. It was purely tightly integrated front end and a back end application. There was no ORM in between. You have got something called ADO.NET, which was being used. Missing unit testing, because it was such a heavy framework. There was no modularity on that, so people cannot write the unit test cases on that. And of course, performance issues was there. Reason being because every control which was being created on server side to maintain the state of those controls, Microsoft was actually been doing using something called view state. Now that view state was supposed to be, you can actually turn off the view state, but you cannot make it null. It cannot be removed. It will be still maintained for some of the things, and there are many controls there where you cannot disable the view state. You have to, the view state will maintain for those things. Business complexity was on the side very high, because it needs a higher investment. There was a lack of scalability. For example, it was a heavy monolithic app. If you really want to scale it, you actually have to have another VM. It is not that the one part of the application can be scaled up. So that was one of the inflexibility of scale. Lack of cross-platform. It was only been running on .NET, on a Windows platform. It was never been run on the Mac OS or Linux or Unix platform. Poor manageability, because it was a monolithic app. It has got a cross-platform kind of a concept. Like when I say it's a code behind kind of a concept. So there was a lot of poor manageability. That needs high manageability from customer perspective. And long time to market was one of the area which was being considered, because it was a heavy application. For anything you have to make a change, you have to do a complete testing. You have to actually test it properly, and there was a sequential work programmer has to do on that. But but there is no off button for your business application. So if you think that all these points are highly relevant to your future business needs and are thinking about moving ahead with .NET Core, is it often not possible to rewrite them from scratch, as new features should be introduced every month? I would like to dig into one of the possible ways of migrating current applications, but before these, we need to understand the architecture changes that are among web forms and MVC and now the latest .NET Core. So multiple ways of migrating to the .NET Core. So if you see this whole application, so there's something called Microsoft ASP.NET Web Forms. Then there was an age came when the .NET MVC came in picture, and which is anyways one of the renowned framework at the moment. Also, many companies still do development on .NET MVC, and then something called a .NET Core as a framework, which we are going to talk about. So our approach, what Component suggests that there is a direct approach from migrating from ASP.NET Web Forms to .NET Core, which is the most recommended approach also. While there is another approach where people say that, okay, you really can go from ASP.NET Web Forms to MVC, and from MVC you can go to .NET Core also. While this is a long path, but normally people like to do from Microsoft ASP.NET Web Forms to go to .NET Core, because there's a high level of feature identical you will find out when you do from ASP.NET Web Forms to .NET Core. While in ASP.NET Web Forms to MVC and that to .NET Core, there will be a huge amount of changes you have to do in your program into your web forms, because there is no direct way people can do that from ASP.NET Web Forms to MVC and from MVC to .NET Core. What are the relevant steps to migrate from web forms? So in this, now we will be discussing about how to actually migrate from web forms to MVC to .NET Core. So there are 4 stages to easy migration. First is to prepare the port. Then the second one is to UI migration. And the third one is backend and middleware and entity framework and DB migration. So for example, when I say prepare to port, it's like that there has to be some analysis has to be done before you start migrating your code. You really want to know whether my application is can be ported into .NET Core or not. And if it can be ported, then there has to be a major part is the UI migration. So if you remember web forms, we talked about server controls, which was basically heavy controls, and those need to be migrated into a new framework. And then overall, we talk about there is something called backend and middleware, and for like any other application, it will be having a DB also. So most of the application have these common factors. So these are the 4 steps which we are going to do further in this. So we need to talk about how this whole thing is going to work. So using Visual Studio 2019, that is something which we need to talk about. We will be taking a Windows Forms app here, which is a .NET Core app. So what we have done in here that we will be using a Windows application which will be migrating from a legacy Windows Forms to a basically to a .NET Core. While that when I say Windows Forms, it is having all those features which will be there. So what we are going to migrate is from a web forms to a .NET Core, which is basically a web forms into a Windows Forms. So porting web forms to a .NET Core, start with a stable project. So what we have to start you from a working solution, ensuring the solution runs without any issues. Install a .NET Core 3.0 and Visual Studio 2019 on your machine. Visual Studio 27 only supports up to .NET Core 2.1 and not 3.0, and create a new application of the same type and copy all references from the older files. Update the NuGet packages. If your application is referencing to any NuGet packages, update them to the latest version. While moving class library to .NET Standard, for example, replace packages.config with package reference. Use Windows Compatibility Pack. Make APIs available from .NET Framework to a new .NET Core for removing common errors. Example, Microsoft.Windows.Compatibility NuGet packages. Run the .NET Portability Analyzer. It will generate a report for identification of the APIs that are not supporting the .NET Core and would need refactoring of code to avoid dependencies. So once you start running the portability, if you're planning to port a .NET Framework application into a .NET Core, you have to analyze your APIs used in your project to see whether it is compatible or not. A .NET Portability Analyzer is a tool that helps you to analyze and determine how flexible your application is across .NET platform. Running the tool will do two things. First of all, it will generate an Excel spreadsheet that will report the level of compatibility that your project has with .NET Core 3.0, including the specific APIs that are currently unsupported. Second thing, send the same data. This is to the .NET team at Microsoft so that we can determine which APIs are needed by the most people. So this is compatibility summary by the portability tool. Now, if you see this particular Excel file, it talks about that how much compatible to your code is with this whole thing. So if I talk about .NET Core Plus platform extension version 2.1, it is 76.29, version 2.2, 76.29. .NET Core 76.1, and while .NET Frame, because this application was built up in .NET Framework, it was a web form application, it is 100% compatible with that. We talk about the second step, which is UI migration. So logically, what happened that .NET Core do not allow any of the server control to be migrated into our HTML5 controls. So you have to do that manually. While this particular application, this particular screen, if you see that, it talks about what kind of controls has to be changed. So all the controls which are server side need to be changed into an HTML5 control, which is a manual process and someone has to do it manually. It do not, .NET Core do not migrate any of the UI components at the moment. So how that has happened, all the server side controls will be required to be updated as they are tightly coupled and does not support stateless .NET Core architecture. So all the server side controls has to be changed into a .NET Core components, which is basically an HTML5 components, which has to be changed. Rewrite UI without changing the code behind. Now, if you remember when we talked about the web forms was there was a front end and then there was a back end. Every front end, every page was actually being connected with the code behind files. So all the code is still available in the project.js. Now with the .NET Core concept, if you go there, it has also got the same model where you have a front end, then you have a front end application, and then you have a back end application also. So it do have a code behind file, which is basically been. So if you go into a .NET Core, you will find out if you add a page like index.chtml.cs, which is a razor page, then you also have a file which is coming, which is called index.chtml.cs file, which is basically nothing but a code behind. .NET Core has, what Microsoft has done with this is just to make and facilitate the people who are basically coming from a web form backgrounds. What they have done, they have given the similar kind of a concept while improving a lot of performance things, while improving a lot of on the controller part. So for example, if I talk about index.chtml page, which is one of the file in .NET Core, you can actually add the control, which is an HTML control, and with each file of that HTML file, there will be a code behind file, which will be having the code behind logic of yours. So that is there as a part of it. It is just for the convenience of the people who are coming from the web form background. So if you do the update the UI of the application with the modern view, this was an application which was there as a contact.xpx. This is the new application which has been created. So if you see the difference, the UI, there's a high difference between the UIs which we are talking here right now. Backend upgrade, middleware and backend, which is a step 3 of ours. So once you have done that, so if you see that contact.aspx.cs page, if you see that contact.chtml.cx page, it is actually being the similar kind of a page. Now page underscore load, which is basically the web form first event on the page on the web forms, that is automatically get converted into onGet. Now if any one of you has already been familiar with .NET Core, all these events which is supposed to be called in .NET Core has to be started with on kind of a thing. And the other part which is supposed to be happen, that once this is all being done, if your UI has been migrated, your backend has already been migrated into this application, the only thing which you have to do is to map these events with your controls. So for example, if you are having a button and you really want to run a code on the click of that button, you just have to say on click is equal to this, and that the button will be get called. The code will be get called in that situation. So that's a way Microsoft has Microsoft .NET Core has done it. So there is no change in the way it was supposed to be done for the people who are coming from web form background. It is just the optimization has been done, and a lot of server-side tight coupling has been removed from the application. Direct linking of a new with the existing code behind, that is what we were talking in the last slide. So for example, if you see this, so this is something called model, ASP.NET Core.pages.contact model. So this is what it automatically comes in. So when you have something like contact.chtml, and if you click on that file, there will be another file under it, which is called contact.chtml.cs file, which will be having the code behind of it. Coming on the fourth part, which is basically an EDO.NET kind of a thing. So if you remember, most of the applications which was being there in the Microsoft space earlier, they were controls called data set, data tables, all that was a part of data adapters. Now Microsoft has brought data set, data table, and data adapter back from .NET Core 2.20 to make porting from .NET Framework to .NET Core easily. While they have called it the name of called EDO.NET Core and Entity Framework Core. Now utilize the data reader and the command APIs to read and write the data. This requires more code to be written, but will get job done no matter the shape of the data in the existing application and a project. While an Entity Framework Core, the EF Core is a lightweight open source cross-platform version of Entity Framework data access technology. So for example, if you are migrating your application from any of the MVC pattern also, you can actually use Entity Framework Core also. Few limitation of this migration. So while we are discussing this whole strategy of migration, we think that there is a limitation also. Everything cannot be migrated. There has to be, so these are the four steps, four things which has to be taken care. So complete UI upgrade, converting interceptors and server-side controls. So you have to, UI upgrade has to be done manually. There is no way Microsoft says that you can upgrade the UI. Third-party integration and any old libraries. So there are many, there are not many libraries, but there are few libraries which cannot be converted into .NET standard libraries. So those libraries has to be changed, or you have to use Windows compatibility framework to find out that if you put that, it automatically make those files compatible, but that will not be changed into a .NET Core APIs or a standard libraries. If your application is using a high usage of JavaScript or a jQuery, it is more on the client-side application than a server-side application. Of course, you have to take care of that yourself. Microsoft migrations are not there. You cannot migrate from this to .NET Core automatically. And the .NET Framework library required to be updated to .NET standard format for cross-platform ability. So for example, if you are using any of these libraries, I talked about that NuGet packages, or any of the other libraries, you have to do manual upgradation of that. So if you're referencing any of the libraries, you just have to go manually and change the .NET Framework libraries to .NET Standard for libraries. So something that's supposed to be done manually. So these are the four steps which has to be taken care when you are actually doing the migration. Key takeaways from the .NET Core: overall value for money, 60 to 70% of the code usability. Of course, when we talked about that UI has to be changed, JavaScript, jQuery, all that which we talked about are more towards the front end part, which has to be done, but the backend code can be reutilized completely. You don't have to upgrade your backend code to use .NET Core. You just have to change the .NET libraries from a .NET library to a standard libraries, and then you can reuse the whole code. We also talked about how the database libraries has to be reused. For example, if you're anyways using ADO.NET, you can actually use ADO.NET Core, which is anyways have got a data reader, data table, data sets, and all that thing. So you can reuse that. So our experience says that 60 to 70% of the key code usability is there, and this is what Microsoft claims to. Benefits of migrating to a .NET Core is basically a future-proof application. So you will be having less code with C# and platform compatibility. So you will be having a platform compatibility, cost saving, quality improvement, improved user interface, and obviously a better architecture about it. So when I talk about .NET Core, there will be a better architecture. This because .NET Core automatically supports a lot of the infrastructure and the hardware acceleration kind of a thing. So any of the platform any of the architecture which you are going to create, you will be using, it will be a better architecture. Bridging old with the new practices, quick wins through microservices integration. Once you are on a Microsoft .NET Core framework, you can obviously re-architect it. Maybe you can actually re-engineer it depending on your need, about your business need. You can actually convert them into microservices and do a lot of integrations. So it actually reduce a lot of your maintenance cost, better support from Microsoft and the .NET community. Acceleration time to the automation through CI/CD. So logically, if you are anyways doing a .NET Core, you will be having a CI/CD. So DevOps integration can be done, because once you are on a microservices kind of a concept, you can easily do that CI/CD kind of a thing. You can integrate with the whole process, and then you can make a faster deliveries to that. Plus, if you are in a CI/CD part of it, doing a microservices, assuming you will be doing a bit of an agile part also. So foster an agile culture and latest trend. So that is also one of the things. And now, because you're using my .NET Core 3.0, you can always leverage this whole framework to carry forward your initiatives of artificial intelligence, machine learning kind of a thing. Plus, you can actually take your whole application a cloud-based application. You can use the cloud power, because .NET Core 3.0 gives a lot of inbuilt features to be get compatible with Azure or the cloud and the features of the Azure. So that's something you can do. Plus, once you are on .NET Core platform, you can always use it to be deploy the application on Windows or Linux or Mac OS. It's a cross-platform kind of a thing. Not all applications choose a direct approach of migration. So for example, we are also talking about that not all applications are being meant for migration. So some of the things which we talked about. So application built on legacy CMS platform like .NET Nuke, Kentico, all these application cannot be migrated into .NET Core. There will be a different part to do that. But what we have talked about, or what particular strategy we have talked about in this, it's not going to be used for that. If your application is intensive UI-based application driven by jQuery or JavaScript frameworks, which I've already mentioned, that if you are using a heavy usage of jQuery and Java, it will not automatically convert into that. You have to do it manually. Application using voluminous third-party .NET libraries as it's control like Geocentric, GDI for display graphics, etc. Obviously, those applications cannot be converted into .NET Core applications. If the business application built on browser extension does not support .NET Core, so if you remember in a Microsoft time, there were a lot of extensions, a lot of plugins comes which you can download from the browser. You can get, if those are your application, it cannot be migrated into .NET Core. And the core COM components, if it's basically coming from the legacy part of when the ASP was there and ASP.NET was there, .NET Core, it allows you to do COM components. Those kind of components cannot be shifted into .NET Core. It is recommended to perform an assessment check before taking a critical action of migration from .NET Core. Either select a feasibility study or conduct a small POC. So our understanding is that anytime you want to drive this approach, the best way to do that, you have to do a feasibility study and do a small POC on top of it. Instead of changing the whole application and make your strategy on something, take an application, do a proof of concept, see what it gained to you, and then go forward from there. What Compinel recommend with this whole journey, that you can engage with us as a Compinel team, define your business requirement, and we can do a free migration assessment for you, which is basically with a well-defined approach which we have talked about. So there are 4 steps which talked about. We will take these 4 steps. We will help you to do some kind of an assessment which is free of cost. If you give me an application, we will do this assessment. We will let you know whether your application is actually can be migrated, how much it can be migrated. If it can be 50%, 60%, it can be 30%, we don't know. But if you do this assessment, we will be finding it will be easy for us or for you to know whether your application is directly portable into .NET Core and how much investment we can use whatever you have done earlier. So free and well-defined assessment report generated by Compinel expert will support an optimum decision making and route the ideal mode of transformation. That's what we are looking for. We are happy to talk about any of the questions which you have got. Let's talk about if there is any questions. We are happy to take. So I got a question which says, please explain MVC pattern once again. MVC is model view controller pattern, which is basically where you have where you have a view and a controller pattern. So you have a view which is basically your front end, and the controller is basically where you write all your business logic, and model is something which normally people use for connectivity with the databases. So where you store your entities. So for example, if you anyways knows about property files, which is getter and setter kind of a thing, you can actually put that. Many people use model for their database connectivities, controller for their business logic, and view for their presentation layer. So when someone is asking, do you have a good use case for when you have migrated from web form to .NET Core? Definitely, we have done this for one of our customers. So one of our customer have got an application which is basically a project management application. It's been made completely into web forms, and it got more than 500 pages in this overall application. What they really want to start looking, because they really want to go onto a SaaS model and want to go a lot more on the cloud. So they want to adopt a cloud first approach. So they came to us with a model by saying that, okay, we really want to we want to rewrite this whole application, because as per their understanding, you cannot migrate. It's like a kind of an age difference, because you're in a web form which is 2002. Now you're in 2019. Most of the people have this understanding that, okay, these are two different generations of Microsoft, and they cannot combine or they cannot be migrated. So when they came to us, we mentioned that there's a way we can do that. We can do an assessment for you, find out whether that assessment is going to give you, let's see the result of that assessment. If that assessment is actually like only allow you 20-30% of the use, we are also going to be with you to migrate or to rewrite this whole application. But what happened, this whole application, when we did the assessment of this with our possible method, we find it out that it is just, we can reuse 60-70% of the application code, and it was like 30% or to 30-35% that was we have to rewrite it. And that was again a very completely a UI, kind of a UI has to be rewritten. So what we have done, we have actually taken their whole code base, migrated them into .NET Core, while front end was done in the Angular part of it, and then we ported them into a cloud infrastructure, because .NET Core allows you to do something on the containers and the Dockers kind of a thing. So we did this whole thing, and that makes logically that was one of the most good achievement, which gave us a lot of confidence that this approach is logically works for each and every customer. So that was one of the use case which we have done. There are multiple other use cases on which we have worked on. This I have shared you because that was first experience of ours, and this was one of the first and the successful experience of ours when we migrated from .NET, from a .NET Web Forms to basically to a .NET Core. So someone is asking that will the migration process utilize .NET Core inbuilt support for dependency injection? Yes, it will utilize that .NET Core. If it is not there, you have to write that. But majorly it allows that. In our case, if you are not using a .NET, if you're not using a dependency injection in your code earlier, then when you migrate into a .NET Core, it will do that for you. Another question, as you have mentioned, some libraries cannot be used in .NET Core. What is the alternate to that? So, uh, so the alternate is that basically, if there is some libraries which cannot be migrated, there is something called Windows Compatibility Program. We talked about that. Once you add that, it will automatically make the DLL compatible with the .NET Core. As I talked about that, it is not going to be a .NET Core DLLs or a standard libraries, but it will be you can use those DLLs. But in case you find it out that those DLLs are, and you anyways that those DLLs have been made by you, or do you have a code, you can always go back and change it into .NET code. So you can change the library's code and then recompile them and get into a .NET, and then we can use in your .NET or a migrated application. So that's something you can do easily. So one more question came to us that can I uh, can I use .NET Core 2.2 or 2.0 for doing this migration? Just for information, this whole process which you talked about is being built on .NET Core 3.0. So any migration this whole strategy which you talk about will not going to work on 2.1 or 2.2. It will be going to work on 3.0. So another question came is that EF core is not enough mature yet. What is your opinion? Are you okay to go with are we okay to go with EF core for production release? If EF core is not been there because you are migrating from MVC, then you can actually use Entity Framework 6.0, which is, or maybe a version like which is in 6 series, 6.x. It is also compatible with that. When the .NET Core version get mature enough, EF Core, you can use that. We haven't find out any challenge till now while we are using it in most of our projects, but in case there is anything, we have always go to a backward compatibility. And as I talked about, Windows compatibility program can be run to use that model. So that is it. While we talked about that, but in that situation, you have to manually do any of these things. For example, if there is an EF kind of you already have an entity framework ORM which is being used, you have to just insert that into your .NET Core, because .NET Core will not take entity framework. You have to manually do that because it will automatically upgrade into .NET EF Core framework when you do this whole migration. So one of the question came in that when I migrate from web forms to .NET Core, what will be happen to my? Is that going to be an architecture improvement? Like, can it do a microservices kind of a thought? I'm sorry to say that it's not going to be happen that way. So your migration will be purely on the web forms to .NET Core. Anything which you really want to do on a microservices or a Docker kind of a thing, and you want to utilize any of the .NET Core 3.0 framework features, you have to do it manually. The intent of this whole journey, which we talked about, a migration journey, is to bring you on that platform, which will be from a web forms to a .NET Core framework. Once you are in .NET Core framework, you have all the rights to use all the features of .NET Core 3.0, which can be your ML.NET, Signal R, it can be single page application if you really want to make it. All that you can do, and you can always integrate cloud things and all that stuff, which is inbuilt part of .NET Core. Yeah, someone asked me that how big application you really want us to, if someone has to assess, if you guys want to assess us. I think we are good with we talked about to you that we have assessed for 500 pages, but I think for any of these applications, we can talk about like maybe 10 pages, 15, 20, 50 pages or 100 pages of web form application. We can do the assessment, we can provide you the assessment report, and then you can take it with your business, and we can always talk to you that okay, this is an assessment report, and this is going to take this much of effort and operational cost. So we can always give you that numbers which can be fitted into your operational budgets, which you can go to your management and talk about it. And this is and it depends on like what kind of how, and we will also tell you that how much it will take to basically whatever the parts which is not being migrated, which cannot be migrated, how much it will take to do those changes. That is also going to be the part of our assessment. So one question, can you elaborate on this drawback? The UI needs a total rewrite and the server-side controllers written in HTML will not support. So the drawback of this whole thing which you talked about, that the UI need to be totally rewritten, because there were two ways in the web forms. There were two ways people were building the controllers. One is that you can build a server-side controller, which gives you the way to bind your events directly with that control, and there was second way where you can actually put the controllers, and then when you put the controllers, you also have you can do it a client side kind of a thing. So if you have used client side controls, I think we can reuse that part also, and that will be a better way of doing it. But if you are using a server side controls, we have to totally rewrite the UI for that, because .NET code implicitly do not make or do not migrate server side into a client side. It is like basically the era has been changed a lot. It is something which was server side control, which was all Microsoft oriented, while what we are talking is on a HTML5 control. So that is the difference. So the drawback is that you have to rewrite this whole thing again, and which may be a cost to you. But again, as I mentioned, that it's only few parts which has to be written. Rest, most of the part, which is basically the typical part of your code logic, business logic, which can be easily migrated from .NET Web Forms to .NET Core. Okay, we will wait for another 5 minutes. If you have any more questions, we will be happy to answer. After that, we will close this webinar. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.